Hi, I'm Celso from Guará.ca, and today I want to talk about the day that I almost lost my job to AI, but I ended up winning the fight. At first, I didn't think much of it. I thought it was an isolated case, but I keep hearing similar stories, and the exact same thing happened to my good friends the other day. So, despite the fact that I've been trying to avoid talking too much about AI, not because how I feel about the technology and how it's being used, but mostly because I'm just sick of hearing about it, Like everything surrounds AI now. Every time I talk about art, the subject comes up. And I just think we're spending way too much energy talking about it, and that's removing from us actually making stuff. And because I'm an artist, from my point of view, the conversation surrounding AI always ends up being more negative than positive. But after I heard about what my friend's going through now, and seeing that's the exactly same progression that my little battle went, I realized that those small victories might represent a bigger change on the overall artist community. I'm not gonna be able to share any details about those stories. I can name the companies or people involved, or even show any of the images that I'm gonna be talking about, mostly because of NDAs. Last year I was working as a creature character artist at this studio, and my job was very production oriented. I was just making creatures, sculpting, modeling, doing blend shapes and all that for a specific production. And I like that part of the job, but my favorite part of the job is actually visual development, is pre-production and not production itself. It's coming up with ideas and exploring those. But because most studios nowadays have a reduced workforce, when a new project came up that they had to do some visual development for, they didn't feel like they could afford to let the artist leave the production that's ongoing to work on pre-production for another show for a couple weeks. More as a way of protecting the schedule of the current production, right? So it's towards the end of the day on Friday, and the head of production calls me and another character creature artist just to get some numbers out of us, right? How long would it take, and how complex would be to do what they need to, right? Like to do some concept scopes for this new show that we might get. And we get super excited about, because that's what we love to do. We love doing visual development. But he said, don't do anything yet. We're gonna have a bigger meeting with the studio owner on Monday. I just wanna be prepared for that meeting with some numbers. From that moment on, we had access to the script and to everything the show was about and what they needed from us. So both me and him, without talking to each other, we're like, let's give it a shot on this over the weekend, right? And so we did. So we get to Monday, and they moved the meeting to Tuesday, and my friend decided to send what he did over the weekend, and everybody loves it. And I didn't finish mine because I was taking it easy. Nobody asked me to do that. I was just like getting ahead a little bit, but I took my friend sending his version. I took that as a challenge a little bit, and I ended up like rushing my version Monday night, and doing something as well for the meeting on Tuesday. So we get to the meeting on Tuesday with the studio owner, and he's explaining to us what he needs, and it's almost the same conversation as we had with the head of production before the weekend. And my friend shows some. He says that he sees the images, whatever, but he comments that that's not exactly what like the direction was a little bit different, because he had more information from the clients than the head of production had. So my version was also wrong, but I ended up going a little bit beyond. I made like this little video and everything, like and some fancy renders, and I screen shared what I did. They were impressed and they liked it, but I ended up making the wrong creature, not the one that they actually wanted. And like they were like, "This is amazing. We're gonna figure out schedule and get back to you guys." So this was Tuesday morning. By Tuesday 6 p.m., one of the producers sends a link to a folder where they tried to do their AI version of what they want. And of course I had to go check. And they had 77 versions there. So over the weekend, my friends did 2 versions of this creature. I did one, and it started a second that I didn't finish in time. So let's say if I did finish 4 versions, right, like between 2 people, one person was able to generate 77 versions in a few hours. So we're like, we're screwed. They're gonna, whatever, right? And we were right. They told us, don't worry about this right now. We're gonna go with AI because we can't afford not to have you on the show that you're supposed to be working. So don't put any more time on this. Just let us handle. And part of the conversation that we had was the schedule for this was 3 weeks. So we're like, okay, we did what we could. We lost the battle, and 2 weeks go by, and they put us back on the meetings about this, and we're like, okay, let's see what's this about. So it turns out nobody liked any of those 77 versions. The idea was, well, if that's what they could get in a couple hours, imagine if we put like 2 weeks on this, like on actually improving this AI thing, right? And it just didn't go anywhere. They actually brought in somebody more specialized on using AI to creating images. Actually, a really good guy, and he was trying really hard, but the studio owner was like, I can't show this to the client. It just looks like generic AI images. The guy who made them got really offended because he took ownership over those, and he's like, no, they're not generic AI images. They're the selected ones. Like, we spent a lot of time, and it was really hard to get these results. And the studio owner said, okay, the selected generic image. So he hated. So instead of having 3 weeks to work on this thing with humans, they wasted 2 with AI. And now we only had 1 week to do what the easy to use, amazing quick renders AI couldn't do in 2 weeks. We had to do in one. But it gets better. Production was still holding us back, like, oh, we can't afford to lose those guys for a week. So they're like, what's the minimum amount of time you guys need for this? And I said, okay, 3 days for both of us. Instead of doing everything in 3 weeks, now we can do in 3 days. One day, we're both gonna do just sculpts. The second day, we would show them the sculpt that we did on the first day and do any changes that might come out of it. And the third day was just for me, for render everything and do my special little thing and put my little flair on it, right? And the producer for my show was like, nah, we can't lose you both for 3 days. How about one day? And if you need more time, you do on the weekend. And we're like, okay. I don't know why. The right answer would be no. I should have stood my ground, but I didn't. I just agreed and like, okay, if I need more time to do on the weekend and at nights and whatever, right? Like anything so I can actually do this thing. First, because the project kind of kidnapped my mind, right? Like I was invested mentally on it. And two, because I wanted to prove that we can do this, that they don't need AI for this kind of crap. And then after I agreed with all that, I got an email with the schedule and they pulled the rug under me. Instead of giving me the day that they promised, and I give them one day on the weekends, they put me to work one day on the weekend for the actual production, not for the visual development stuff that I wanted. So pretty much they just shifted. Instead of me working on this thing on the weekends and working on the other show on the Friday, now I'm gonna work on this thing on Friday and on the other show on Saturday. It didn't make any sense to me. I was pissed. But I'm like, whatever, let's do it. So me and my friend, we get grinding. We spent, like, we knew one day wouldn't be enough, so we spent our after hours on the day that we had this conversation doing, the full day the next day, the night as well. They said the last minute they decided they didn't need me to work on the weekend, so I ended up spending the weekend working on this thing as well, and we pulled it out. They loved what we did. We got all the notes in, looked how, like, the boss was happy. They showed the clients. The client was happy. And the only unhappy people there was me and my friend because we felt betrayed by the company, right? And now, like 5 months later, the exact same story happens to my friend. They got him on a project. They pulled the artist out. They tried to do everything with AI. This time, they actually showed the AI stuff to the client, and the client hated everything. And they had like about 3 weeks to do everything, but they wasted all their time with AI. And now that there's no more time left, they pull my friend to work on this thing, so he has to work nights and weekends again to please a client. And of course, the quality is not going to be the same as if they gave him this from day one, right? But no, they had to push. They had to show a bunch of AI crap. The client hates it. And instead of, like, they had their chance. The client already said they didn't like this generic stuff that they were doing. But in this case, the person pulling out is the studio owner. So he feels like he's making it. So he can't see anything wrong. So he keeps generating more, and trying to polish in a way and use some Photoshop here and there to combine the versions that he liked the most. And it just got even worse and worse and worse. And now my friend's gonna have like just a few days unpaid weekend working on this thing. So on their attempt to use the easy way out, everybody suffers. The client is presented with crap. The studio itself looks bad because it presented crap. The artist suffers, not only because we feel betrayed by the studio that they are using us as a last resort, that like we were there from day one and they decided not to use us, but because we're forced to present something below our capabilities, below what we are able to produce, because they didn't give us the time that we needed. What pisses me off the most is that in any production, I never seen a first version being approved of any artwork. Executives and producers and anyone in charge without any creative training or even a creative bone on the entire body give notes until they destroy things that were good to begin with. Nothing is ever approved on the first try. Doesn't matter who is doing. They hire an artist for their style, and then they want to control that style. They want to put their smudges, their fingerprints on it. Nothing is ever approved because it's good enough. Things get approved because we run out of time, because the deadline gets too close. And the people doing that, the people that judge your artwork not good enough for the precious clients, are the same people presenting their clients with AI garbage. And it's backfiring. And I love it.